I'm a patient family specialist here at Moffitt Cancer Center. And I have today a proposal for you regarding our patient education department and a few suggestions that our team has for process improvement. So I'd like to direct your attention to the PowerPoint. We'll be covering the Wall Racks project and just new patient education initiatives uh, that we can use to communicate with our patients a little bit more effectively and a little bit more efficiently. So here we go. All right, and if I could call your attention to the PowerPoint here, we'll get started. Okay, so just I'd like to start out here with I really like this picture here of Moffitt because it kind of really gives us a bird's eye view of really how much Moffitt has grown and really all that Moffitt. It's actually not a complete picture of what Moffitt encompasses, but it gives us a little bit of a better idea of what the areas the patient education department serves, and just how much we've grown since we've opened our doors in October of 1987. Many of you may know this, but the building there on the far left was the first and only building that was initially built as Moffitt when we opened our doors. And since then, we've grown from about 300,000 square feet and about 400 employees to over 4,200 employees, over 800 volunteers, and over 2 million square feet and still expanding. In fact, we're hoping to open another building by July of next year. And really, I believe this highlights an important fact about Moffitt, and that is that it's ever growing and it's ever changing. And as Moffitt grows and changes, the resources that it needs to address patient needs changes as well. And the staff needs and the clinic needs to be able to serve their patients changes as well. So I just want you to keep all of this in mind, and really Moffitt has been a great contributor in in their mission, which is to contribute to the prevention and cure of cancer. And so we're going to highlight a little bit about what patient education's part is in that and what we can do to make ourselves better. So just really quickly, a few facts that you may or may not know about Moffitt. We are an NCI designated comprehensive cancer treatment facility. We're one of the only NCI designated cancer center in Florida, and we're one of only 41 in the nation. So we are nationally ranked, and we are consistently held to a high standard of innovation and best practice technology across the board. The other fact that I wanted to point out is the importance of patient education in recent years and how that's been changing from a clinical standpoint. Recently, there was an HIN study that mentioned that overall health of a patient that is receiving patient education information is about 30% better than a patient who is not receiving any clinical information at all. And so this is a statistically significant figure, and one that we really want to use to our advantage to really be able to serve the client the best possible that we can, and to address some of those needs so that they can receive the best care while they're here at Moffitt. So as for our opportunity, the way that our patient education department looks at the moment, we have several initiatives that we use to reach our patients. The first is we host events at the patient library. We also work directly with clinics and address specific needs that they have. And we also have the Wall Racks initiative, which was put into place a few years ago. And recently there was a preliminary documenting of all the wall racks in the entire hospital. And what we found was that there was over 300 different individual locations where you would find patient education material. Now, that material is resupplied and refilled by a patient family specialist or a volunteer trained by the patient education department. And currently, it's one of our highest time-consuming tasks. And the system that we have in place to be able to do that efficiently is essentially random. So if you walk by and you see that something needs to be filled, then you refill it when you get around to it or you remember it, or you take a cart around to areas that you think may look empty and you refill them there. The problem with this is that you really don't know what materials to take with you before you leave to do the refilling. So you may not take anything that you actually need, which creates a lot of redundancy, a lot of repetition, a lot of lost time, really a lot of waste on the staff's part, resources as well as time. So you'll be carrying around things on a particularly heavy cart that you'll never need, and you may not be carrying around something that you're going to be needing every time. And unless you're specifically familiar with that wall rack, then you really would have no reason of knowing. And although there are patient family specialists that are familiar with all the wall racks, this really is an unreliable system. To assume that a patient family specialist should be responsible for remembering all 300 wall racks to tend to a weekly or at a minimum a bi-weekly basis is unrealistic and creates a scenario where we deliver inferior service to our patients on a daily basis. So if we were to implement a system whereby we were able to effectively communicate with our patient and we're effectively able to distribute to them and reach them with the information that they need, it would have to be measured by a few key success factors. The first of which is time. The amount of time that's cut by this project will allow us to focus on other projects. And the way time will be cut is, first of all, there will be less redundancy in the number of trips you need to take to refill the wall racks because you'll know exactly what's being refilled. Second of all, after data is collected over time, then hopefully we would know just how often those racks actually do need to be refilled. So we can set up a schedule so that we can be the most efficient with where we're going. We would like to avoid a scenario, which happens all the time at the moment, where a specialist will go to a wall rack that doesn't need to be refilled because it's visited too frequently, or will omit going to a wall rack because it's in a very obscure area and it's not a very high traffic area, even though patients do take patient education information from that specific place. So also, the second factor would have to be content. We want to make sure that the items that are in the specific clinics are relevant to the patients in that clinic. A good example of an error in this category would be someone picking up information about stomach cancer in the hematology clinic, or a pamphlet in melanoma being mistakenly dropped off in the thoracic clinic. And this would occur because there really isn't a standard operating procedure to train volunteers, and seeing as how they have a much more limited understanding of the wall racks. They're usually students. Their commitment level and time commitments are usually much smaller than that of a full-time employee, and so a lot of time's wasted in addressing